All right, I guess we're talking about this again. So, I'm going to talk about this until I'm blue in the face. Because the UK's Online Safety Act is so diabolical, it's turning the internet into a government surveillance system. I'm not kidding. This is happening in real time, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it, which they most likely are, and YouTube's algorithm is scraping their videos for controversial keywords and actively suppressing it from being seen in YouTube's home feed. I've already heard multiple YouTubers mention that ever since they started talking about this topic, their viewership has dropped off a cliff lately. Strange, don't you think? Even Chibi Reviews, one of the bigger advocates against the UK Safety Act, is becoming skeptical about this, and I agree. I think multiple social media sites are using their algorithms to silence us. This is insane, and it should be a red flag for the entire world, especially here in America, where freedom of speech is so important. It's our #1 constitutional right. If this gets passed through legislation, we can kiss our right to have an opinion goodbye in that 1984 society that George Orwell warned us about. Because that's what it is. It's a warning, not an instruction manual for the government to use against us. That dystopian work of fiction that becomes more and more of a reality. This new Online Safety Act is going to scour the entire internet. Every website, social media platform, and streaming service, they're going to get hit with this. And it's going to be enforced by Ofcom, all under the guise of preventing children from seeing harmful content. Ofcom's going to be asking companies to start using age verification checks, and this isn't just a "am I 18 or older" checkbox. No, this is going to ask us to identify ourselves in the same way we would when we set up a bank account or when we sign up for government services. That's not something you should feel safe about giving away to social media sites. And places like Spotify and YouTube are already preemptively updating their guidelines to fall in accordance with this. Listen, children, they are smart. They're gonna find ways around this. All this is going to do is force children to use VPNs in order to circumvent this age verification nonsense, which potentially puts them in harm's way of actually accessing harmful content. I hope you're ready to see kids all over the dark web when lazy parents have even more of an excuse not to monitor their children's online activity. It's gonna be catastrophic. The UK government is currently trying to brainwash its public right now, using news outlets to spread propaganda that this is going to make the internet a safe place for kids, to protect children from adult content and predators and other harmful content. And this is great. Actually, I'm 100% on board with keeping children from accessing this stuff. If it were actually what it was all about. If it were, they would be teaching online safety in schools. They would be trying to prevent this from happening in real life, if this was the case. Instead, what they're doing is using "think about the children" as a Trojan horse to quietly suppress any type of dissent. This is about control. This is about sweeping protests under the rug while they quietly usher in their new world. You won't see it happening until it's already too late. Why do you think this is primarily affecting social media in places like Reddit, Discord, Wikipedia, Spotify, places that host community content, not adult sites, not scamming operations? You cannot tell me this is about protecting kids. Age restriction is going to make accessing normal everyday content extremely difficult. And they know this. It's heavily coordinated. Smart people, well, they're going to be dropping from social media platforms because they grew up knowing you never take candy from a stranger. A lot of people will not give up their most sensitive information. At least people my age won't. I hope they won't, because when I hear things like government issued IDs, facial recognition scans, and biometric data being handed over to third-party companies, I'm like, oh, hell no. I'll delete these apps in a heartbeat if they want that from me. But the majority, they won't. They're either unaware or they just know it and they don't even care. People like Asmongold, who just made the biggest L take of his entire career, he sided with this nonsense, justifying it as inevitable. People like him, I think he's one of the ones, unaware of what's really going on. You see, our information is constantly being sold by big corpos. Our age, gender, likes, dislikes, what type of content we watch, basically our entire browsing habits. Mostly used to push ads in front of our faces, or so we thought. What happens when all this information gathered on us is now linked with our personal identity? We now have a situation where they know who you are, and they know where you are, and you're being monitored by the government at all times. The internet is becoming City 17 with military checkpoints at every intersection. Remember the 9/11 attacks? Remember the Patriot Act? Remember people being up in arms about infringing on civil liberties and privacy? This feels less about protecting online safety for children and stretching the law even further to deal with people they deem problematic. I don't want to live in a world where I have to live in fear that I might say the wrong thing or think the wrong thought. Don't want to have a thought crime. The Online Safety Act is like the Leonardo da Vinci of government overreach disguised as child safety. It's like the Mona Lisa of mass surveillance, to use third-party companies as their watchdogs to track every single move you make online. And that's outside of the fact that, by design, this is censorship. Here's the thing though, hackers, data breaches, those are things that exist, okay? Even in a world where this works perfectly as intended and we aren't being lied to, sensitive information leaks all the time. This just amplifies it tenfold. It would still put real people at real risk, even if it wanted to be for the children, which it's not. But back to censorship. This is about the government deciding what you can and cannot say. Lawful speech, protesting against unfair treatment, any type of controversial opinion at all, it's already being flagged on the internet as we speak. And smaller platforms, they straight up can't afford to comply with these rules. I guarantee if Wikipedia can't fight back against us, they're gonna have to shut down their site. Itch.io, the gaming platform that got hit after Steam, they're in disarray right now trying to track down alternative credit card processors to work with them, and it's kind of hard when Visa and MasterCard are running a duopoly. Guess I won't be talking about fan games in the near future when itch.io and other small gaming websites no longer exist because of this. And those adult games that people don't like and would be better if they never existed in the first place, I hope you know that M-rated games are coming next. If GTA 6 gets delayed again, you can pretty much guarantee it's because they're going back and censoring it. And all other games moving forward are going to be affected by this. It doesn't matter that we already have age ratings put in place, E for everyone, T for teen, M for mature. Censorship has already been rampant in video games. This is just gonna make it worse. And like I said, this isn't just in the UK. This is going to happen to America too. It's a threat to our democracy. And if you don't believe me, we already have a Kids Online Safety Act here in America called COSA, or whatever the hell it is. It's in Congress right now. And it's pushing for the same stuff that the UK Act is pushing for. And judging by how fast this happened in the UK, the US is going to be hit with this really, really soon. Want to make a post? Driver's license, please. Want to listen to music or scroll through YouTube? Gonna need that license. I mean, hell, they might as well put tracking chips in our necks because that's what they want. They just can't force us to play by their rules. They can't take away our freedom of speech in the same sense that they can't stop you from yelling in the streets, right? But they can use privately owned companies like social media platforms to hit us where it hurts. Because I'm here on YouTube. I'm not just protesting in the streets. The entire world gets to hear me. And that's what these governments don't like. Your speech, your privacy, your ability to remain anonymous online without Big Brother's watchful eye, that's swiftly being taken away from you. And you won't even be aware of it, especially if you're looking for information on YouTube, judging by the analytics of my last video. Well, I'm expecting this video to perform horribly. But here's the thing, if enough of us speak out, there won't be anything else for YouTube to recommend to you, because it'll all just be us yelling about censorship. That's why I'm making this video, even though I know it won't do too well. I'm willing to completely stop my gaming content to talk about this, even if that means I work for free. Because I know if I don't, I won't be free. This isn't about online safety for children. This is an attack on our freedom of speech. Just look at the UK. Anyone questioning this is being gaslighted. It's the oldest trick in the book. They can't get us with money because they know we're all broke. They can't get us with nationalism because they know we don't trust them. So they have to emotionally blackmail us with our children, weaponizing our empathy. It's literally child exploitation. I'm not even joking. I was watching some of those UK news videos, and they were saying if you're against this, you're basically siding with predators. That's the most dystopian, Trojan horse gaslighting I've ever heard in my life. And as a father myself, this does the exact opposite. It actually makes me afraid for my child's safety. Because if they can go as far as spreading this type of rhetoric to push their disgusting ideologies, think of what's going to happen when they eventually control our children. At this very moment, this is the biggest threat to our country. We need to fight this now before it becomes a reality. You know, George Orwell was not the only one trying to warn us of this. Those who would give up essential liberties to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety. That was Ben Franklin. Or what about Thomas Jefferson? He made a quote that reflects a lot of, current day society. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around the banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Sound like anything familiar? The UK's Online Safety Act is taking the internet and turning it into a government-controlled police state. And since I'm a gaming channel, here's a quote from John Marston about his experience raising a kid. If I tell my son not to do something, he'll do it anyways just to spite me. If I punish him, he resents me for it. But if I show him why it's wrong, at least he has a reason not to do it again. John Marston also said if you win power, remember why you wanted it. And here's one for all you puppet gaslighters trying to control the narrative. When a man with a sing-song voice tells me to fuck off, it always concerns me, boyo.